So what we did was I went to her house, and she still lives with her parents. So my name is Kat, and I'm a 47-year-old birth mom to a 31-year-old who I am now in reunion with for the past 3 years. I am going to talk today about regret and a whole bunch of different sides of it. Not raising my daughter, not being her mom, and raising her from birth is the biggest regret I will ever have in my entire life. It's not a bad thing. It's not something that I harp on. It's not something that I sit around and cry about and just sit there and wallow in. I don't do that. Yes, I regret not raising her. I regret not being the one to kiss her boo-boos and put band-aids on her knees when she fell down. I regret not reading her bedtime stories and pushing her on the swing and going to band practice and seeing her play her soccer games and taking pictures of her at prom and everything. I regret it all. I completely regret it all. And I think about the what ifs all the time. I have pictures now that I'm in reunion. I have pictures of her when she was little. So now I sit there sometimes and I think about how would it have been and snuggling up with her to read a story and I can picture it now. It was hard for me to picture it before because I had no face to put with the name and the person. Now I can imagine her at 5 years old and snuggling up in the crook of my arm to watch a show or whatever. So, yeah, I completely regret not raising her. It doesn't matter how good her life is or was and has been. It doesn't matter how good my life has been or was or any of that. None of that matters in regards to regret. I don't want that to come off as bad. I don't want it to seem like, she shouldn't have had a good life. She should have been miserable without me. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I will always regret regardless how great either one of us has lived up until this point. It will always be a regret. I can't go back and change it, nor do I try to, but it is something that I will regret for my whole entire life. It also doesn't matter that I was only 15. It's kind of a moot point to me because regardless, I wanted my daughter. Who doesn't want to raise their child? I mean, yes, there are a few people who really don't, but how could I not want to raise her? It doesn't matter that I was only 15. I still wanted my daughter. It was never a point of me not wanting to raise her. Most people want to raise their child regardless of their age. I've heard of 70-year-old women having children and they want to raise their child. Just because I was 15, it doesn't matter. I still wanted to raise her. And because I didn't, I regret it. I completely regret not being her mom. The other thing that goes along with that is there are a lot of non-birth moms. People who have never walked a day in my shoes. They've never given their child up for adoption. Tell me, you shouldn't regret it. oh, you both have had great lives. She was able to have this, that, and the third, you know, and she was able to have vacations and toys and all the materialistic stuff that one assumes that one needs, although they don't need them, they're just nice to have. And I was able to grow up and live my life, which isn't actually the case, because once I had my child and she was gone, everything changed for me, and I basically had to grow up anyways. It's not something I should be punished for. It's not something you should be punished for. It's not something anybody should be punished for to regret. Okay? On the flip side of that, it could be hurtful, okay, to say that you don't regret. Adoptees, and I'm gonna pause right here and say, no, not all adoptees, you know, not every adoptee feels the exact same way. I understand that. But a lot of adoptees, I have done my research, I'm a part of a whole bunch of different groups, I follow them and I listen to them. But and a lot of adoptees won't even tell you, because there's a, you know, and it's just like with birth moms too, there is society that has created this bubble or box that, you know, says, okay, this is great, okay, this is how it should be. So no, not all, and some just flat out don't, okay, they don't feel this way, but we don't, not all here, okay, so it's just a blanket statement to cover the masses, let's say, okay, but I understand that not everybody feels this way, but a lot do. A lot of adoptees will feel hurt by hearing that their mother, their birth mother, does not regret giving them up for adoption. Who wouldn't? I would. I mean, hell, like, if my mother now said to me, why I regret keeping you, you know, anything like that, that's, you know, that's horrible and it could be hurtful. So a lot of adoptees can be hurt hearing that, no, it was the best thing since sliced bread. I'm so glad that I gave you up for adoption. And I erred. I made a mistake myself. When we reunited, I told her, it was one of our emails, she was like, I understand, you were 15, and, you know, I have no regrets, I appreciate the life that I've lived, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh yeah, I was able to do what I needed to do, and I don't regret it either. I gave you to people who couldn't have babies, blah, 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 you know, but I didn't know. I hadn't done any research, I hadn't done any learning, you know, and I don't think that she took it in a horribly negative way or anything like that. At least I hope she doesn't. Because later on, after I had gone through some grieving and really started to process reuniting with her and my grief and the trauma associated with giving her up and everything else that happened to me during that time, I did send her a letter, and I told her that I do regret it, and that you know, I won't harp on it or anything like that, but I do regret it, and that I was sorry. I was sorry for giving her up. So you know, I did apologize for that and everything. So I mean, and it hasn't gone further than that. But I messed up. You know, I told her, oh no, I don't regret it. It was great. You know, oh, it's horrible. But a lot of adoptees will be hurt by that. Just imagine having, you know, you're given up for adoption, you're given to strangers, because in essence, that's what happens. Regardless if birth mom and adoptive parents meet, the baby is still a stranger. You know, they don't know the sounds, the smells, because they inherently know their mother from birth. So to them it's strangers, and then, you know, to hear that, oh yeah, it was great, you had a great life, you know, that's hurtful to a lot of people, you know. So for me to say giving my daughter up for adoption is not a regret, for me that means I don't care. That's what it means to me. We were emailing, and we emailed for 11 months. We talked about everything. It ended up being really long letters. God, I remember there was one that took me like 3 hours to respond to, because we were having conversations. Every paragraph was a different conversation about something that we were developing on. And then finally she just said, hey, look, you can message me on Facebook, and we took it there. And every once in a while, like if I have like an article or something, I'll send her an email, but that's about it. We don't really email that much anymore. So that's where we went from the emailing. So then 11 months after we finished emailing, we came up with the, you know, not idea, but I mean, it was proper to meet. So for our first meeting, I wanted to make sure that she was as comfortable as possible. So what we did was I went to her house, and she still lives with her parents, so I met them as well. So, and then we sat down for 6 hours, and we talked about a whole bunch of things. Hindsight is 20/20, and I kind of wish I didn't do it that way. I kind of wish I didn't meet her parents first. I kind of wish it was me and my daughter only, but I wanted her to be as comfortable as possible. She was her comfort was much more important than my comfort. So the first meeting ended up being me and her parents doing most of the talking, because don't forget, we had never met. So there was a lot that we went over, a lot that transpired. They told me what the adoption agency told them. I told them what the adoption agency told me, because there was a lot of, I don't want to say confusion, but the adoption agency did a lot of lying. And so there was a lot for us to go over, and I think part of it was to, regardless of my daughter being 28 at the time, I think that they wanted to make sure I wasn't a nut job. You know, that I had my head on my shoulders and everything, because I was 15 at the time when I gave birth and gave her up. So, and like I said, they hadn't met me or anything like that. So, but we spent 6 hours there. They made dinner, and we had dessert, and we talked, and they showed me her room, and, you know, like just a whole bunch of stuff. And, you know, she was there with her boyfriend the whole time. All in all, I mean, it was a great meeting. They showed me everything. You know, this is the house that she had grown up in. You know, and I think she was able to get a little bit more comfortable with me. So yeah, the first meeting was me and her parents mostly talking. So I would have liked it to be a little bit more one-on-one, but after that, you know, it was basically us. So let me just interject this right here, because I totally forgot to mention this, but when we met, like I said, I bought her and her mom flowers, but I also bought everybody gifts. I wanted to bring gifts so that they wouldn't feel threatened by me. I never wanted them to think that I was coming back in the picture to take over or anything like that. I wanted them to feel comfortable with me. I wrote each and every one of them a card. After the first meeting, we started to have monthly lunches. It was great. It was, we would meet for lunch. I would basically go up there. I didn't mind the drive. Again, my whole thing is I wanted to make sure she was comfortable. So I went out of my way to go to her, because then this way I felt like she had her bearings on things. She wasn't going to be out of place. I'm used to being out of place, and my whole entire life I've been out of place. So 2020, I had asked her a few months prior if she wanted to come and meet my side of the family. Now, a little bit about me. I'm single, I'm not married, never have been, never have a desire to at this point. So then she came down and met my parents, my sister, my niece, and we hung out, and I showed her pictures, like the old school pictures and everything. I showed her my room and, where I was when, I was pregnant with her and everything. And we just talked. And that ended up really being me, my mom, and her. We just talked about a whole bunch of stuff. And then she left. And after that, it just became more of me and her. And she would bring my granddaughter every once in a while. So, it was basically just, getting to know each other, just slowly and surely once a month. And then I started to and I don't, honestly, I do not remember when, but I started to text her every morning. And every morning, now still, I text her morning, and I text her the emoji of the weather. I don't know why I chose to do this and start to do it, but I do it, and I'm not stopping. I think it's I want it to be kind of like me, because that's me. I'm silly and goofy at times. And then she knows she needs to text me back because, I told her, I was like, look, for 28 years, I didn't know if you were dead or alive. And when you don't text me back, as long as you leave me on read, as long as I know you've read it, then I'm okay. Because then, okay, she's read it, she's just busy. That's what goes in my mind. If she doesn't read it, I'm like, okay, she's dead in a ditch somewhere, somebody's kidnapped her, something's wrong. My mind goes in crazy places. So she knows she needs to either leave me on read, or she needs to just send a quick text back. And it's so funny because now, like, if she doesn't text back, like, I'll kind of get an idea, like, from our conversations, like, okay, well, she's got, things going on in the next couple days, so I don't freak out as much anymore. But she'll respond and be like, the first thing she'll say is, I'm not dead. So she knows, like, please appease me. It's just, for 28 years, I didn't know. And so, yeah, so that is where we are today.